Okay, so the last video ended on me starting the table of values. So let's continue that. I want my number of visits to start at 0, and we have to know that the cost for 0 visits now will depend on which membership you're talking about. So you need to label which membership you're talking about at the top of your table. So here we're talking about, I'm going to start with membership A. For membership A, it's only $4 per visit. There's no additional costs. So at 0 visits, you should have put a 0 here because it's $4 per visit. For membership B, it's slightly different. So membership B does have an additional cost. So there is an initial value here. So at 0, you will have a cost of $12. So no matter what, if you don't go to this gym for membership B or you don't get membership B, you will have to pay $12. Okay, so let's continue membership A and then we'll go on to membership B. So I want to go up by ones, the number of visits. So if it's 1 visit, I want to know what the cost will be. So if I go for 1 visit, the cost is going to be $4 because it's $4 per visit. If I go 2 times, it's going to be 8 visits or 8 costs. If I go 3 visits, it'll be $12 and so on and so forth. I'll put 1 more, but I think this is a good amount of data. So we're going to put our patterns in here before we move on. So it's plus $4 per 1 visit. If you don't go up by ones, you have some extra work to do. Okay, for membership B, we have the number of visits. We now know that for 0 visits, the cost is going to be $12. If we have 1 visit, it's not going to be 12 plus 12 because it's a flat fee, an initial value of $12 plus $2 per visit. So it's going to be $14. And then for 2 visits, it'll be 16. For 3 visits, it'll be 18, and for 4 visits, it'll be 20. So every time I'm going up by $2, every time the visits go up by 1. Okay, so the patterns are still the same. They go up by $2 for every time the number of visits increases by 1. Now, what I don't want you to do again is write down that it's $14 for 1 visit, because that's not true. It's not $14 for 1 visit. It says it right up here that it's $2 per visit. So you see that by doing 2 divided by 1 on your table. So that is for question number 6A. It actually wants you to go up to 10 visits. So if we do that, we'll have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and the same thing will be happening on the other side. So I've gone ahead and filled in this table. All I did for this part was I kept adding $4 for every 1 visit, and all I did on this side was I kept adding $2 every visit. So this completes question A. You will need a graph, okay? So I'm not going to do the graph. You guys can make the graph, and I'll check that on Friday. We have to classify each membership as direct or partial. So membership A, if you guys notice, the table starts at 0, 0, and there's no initial value, or initial cost in this case. So what we're going to write here, if you remember from yesterday, there's a specific way of saying this. Membership A is a direct variation because it's not because it starts at 0, 0. That's a strategy to help you determine if it's direct variation. And because membership A does start at 0, 0, we know it's a direct variation, but that's not the reason why you want to write. So you want to write it's a direct variation because there is no initial cost and it is linear. So once you made your graph, you'll see that this graph is a straight line. If you don't have a straight line, you've done something wrong. And then we have to answer for membership B. Membership B is, if we go up to the table to help us determine that, membership B does not start at 0, 0. So it does have an initial cost. That means it's a partial variation. And that's because there is an initial cost, and we could put it in brackets if you want, and it is linear. So both of these graphs are going to create straight lines, and that's because the values, the rate is always constant. We need equations for both. So for question C, we need an equation for membership A, so you need to make sure you label it very, very well. So membership A, remember the equation now will always be y equals mx plus b. We use the letter C for the y, so the cost is only $4 per visit. I think we used an N. Yeah, we used N. And there's no initial value, so you could put +0, but it's not necessary. So this equation means that the cost is $4 per visit. You don't need to write down the explanation, but I want you to read it out kind of in your mind before you write it out, so it makes sense to you. Now for membership B, we use the same letters, except this time, the cost per visit, I'm not going to use Y, I'm going to use the cost, is $2 per visit, but there is an additional cost of $12. So again, if you want to write the sentence that represents these two equations, I think it might help just a little bit. So I'm just going to type them out real quick. This equation means that the cost is $4 per visit. That's it. And this equation is the cost is $2 per visit plus an additional $12. So this one does have an initial value, and question C does not have an initial value. I'm not going to do question D, but I will go over it when we get back into class on Friday. For number 7, it gives you a table that's already completed. So that means you do not have to create the table at all. You're lucky enough to just be given the table. Now, we're talking about a printing company that's charging for advertising flyers. So what we're going to do is start with the patterns of this table. So this pattern for the cost is that it's going up by $20, but it's going up by $20 every time the number of flyers is going up by 100. So that should be a red flag to you, because that's not $20 for one flyer. That would be an insane amount of money. It's actually $20 for 100 flyers. So in order to figure out the number, the cost for one flyer, you're going to need to do $20 divided by 100. And when you do that, you get 20 cents. And that's for one flyer. You want to be doing this before you start writing any equations to understand how to get that rate. So M is actually going to be equal to 0.20 cents per flyer. Okay, so M is 0.20 because that's the rate, the something per one something, 20 cents per one flyer. And again, I got that number by doing 20 divided by 100. I did not get that number by doing anything else. So don't go and tell me that it's 100 per flyer. That's not true. 100 is the cost for 0 flyers. So we're going to identify the fixed cost. The fixed costs are the costs that don't change. So the fixed cost here in this question is the initial cost. So if you get 0 flyers printed, what is the cost? And you should have written $100. Now they want what is the fixed cost? And what do you think this amount might represent? You have to come up with something that this might represent. So because it's a printing company, this might represent the cost for the ink. So you're not necessarily paying for the ink specifically, but you are by paying an initial value. So even if you get 0 flyers printed, you still need to pay $100. That's never ever going to change for this question. Question B is determining the variable cost. Okay, so the variable cost is the one that does change. So the variable cost is the cost per one flyer. So the cost for one flyer, as we just did, is 20 cents. This means it is the cost that, it means that one flyer costs 20 cents. That's what I'm looking for your answer. Okay. So now they want an equation. So the equation is very similar to everything else. As long as you have the rate per one flyer, you should be good to go. Just rewrite y equals mx plus b. We're using the letter C for the cost. So it's going to be the cost is, again, it's 20 cents per flyer, and the letter is N for per flyer. And we have another additional cost of $100. So hopefully you were able to get that equation. For question D and E, we're actually going to do this one in class on Friday when I return. So please try it on your own, and if you do not get to finish it, we will take a look at it on Friday. You need to finish it in homework actually, number 8 as well, and then we'll be taking a look at that on Friday.